Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to come back up to Bartow County and speak with y'all today. Like Ed said, I don't know that there's too many undecided voters in this room. So I'm going to make my case today that I'm going to be your second choice. We are working incredibly hard on this campaign. We're having a great time. We have, when this is all said and done, I will have been at this 1 year, 1 week, and 1 day. And I can tell you, though, that the people in this district, and particularly the people in Bartow County, are just outstanding. My husband and I have spent a lot of time in Bartow over the years. My husband Mike is with me today. He shoots, his home range is out in Taylorsville. And we know that this is just a great place to not only live, but also a great place to work. And that's why I'm running. I'm running because I think that it's time that we send somebody to Congress who's created jobs both from the private sector and the public sector. The number one thing that people want to talk to me about is the economy. Now, I'm a conservative. I'm a conservative Republican. I'm pro-life. I'm very pro-Second Amendment. That's a requirement in my household. And I'm just as conservative as the next person. When you look at the climate, the economic climate of our country, we desperately have got to get the economy back on track. We have to. Now, we're fortunate in this area that we do have relatively low unemployment, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And there's a lot of long-term sustained work that needs to be done. When you consider that 61% of the federal budget is made up of entitlement programs, 44% is Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security alone. We've got to make the argument, not only to our generation, but to the generations to come, that the American dream is alive, and what the American dream is, and how we can best represent it. When you go to vote for your next member of Congress here on the 11th, you're going to vote for the person. You're going to vote for the person that you believe best represents you, represents your values, will take those values to Washington, and fight every single solitary day to make sure that your values get represented up there and that you get the government that you asked for. My father was the first person in his family to graduate high school. His father, my granddad, was the first person in his family to make it through the 8th grade. I was the first person in our family to get a 4-year college degree. There's no other country where that's possible besides the United States of America. I've traveled all over the world, and I've seen the caste system, I've seen the classism, and I've also recognized it enough to know that this is where this administration in Washington, this is where they're pushing us towards. And when you consider that all that is possible in our country, all that is possible in this great nation that God created, we've got to keep that hope alive. And we've got to make sure that we're promoting conservative and Republican values in Washington in the best way to keep that hope alive for the generations to come. I mentioned earlier the 61% of the federal budget that's made up of entitlement programs. And I was asked when I first got here, how do we talk to the folks that are receiving those benefits? How do we get them to come to our way of thinking? How do we get them to vote Republican and want to take personal responsibilities ever so seriously, as serious as every person in this room does? And we do it by representing with them what is being taken from them is so much greater than what's being given to them. We've got to make sure that next generation understands that that sense of success only comes from a job well done. That sense of success comes from work. That sense of success comes from representing to their family and to their children. That when you work, you can achieve anything in this nation. And achieving is what this district is really all about. I started a small business with my husband. I'm a third-generation small business owner. We owned a software company that we started out of the guest room of our house. It was an idea that he had, and we had another partner, and we grew that business. We grew that business over the course of 9 years, and we were blessed to be able to sell it back in 2006. After we sold the business, I got very involved in local Cobb County charities. I believe that to whom much is given, much is expected, much is required. And I worked as a volunteer caseworker for MES Ministries, helping people that are on the verge of homelessness, that are on the verge of losing their homes, their apartments, that in many ways need a hope and need a future, and they're at a point of crisis. Worked with a lot of women who were in crisis with their families. Helped them get back on their feet, and help them understand that they could make it and that they could make it in this country. Doing that was how I got involved in politics. I'd always been involved in politics in college. Like you, I'm a KSU alum. When elected, I'll be KSU's alum. First member of Congress, which we're very proud of. Go Owls. Anybody want to hoop? Woo-hoo! That's right. And getting involved in politics was really just another means of service. Another means of giving back to the country that I love and the community that I love. And I see it each and every day. I see it for the people that make it a priority to get up on a Saturday morning when you could be at your kids' t-ball games or you could be at your kids' soccer games, and you come out here and you fight and work on behalf of your candidates, and you fight and work on behalf of the country that you love. I want to represent you in Congress because I can tell you this. Just like this campaign, nobody's going to outwork me. And I'm going to make a point to represent every facet of this district. Our campaign is going very well, and I'm sure that y'all meet candidates each and every month that tell you that. But I can tell you unequivocally, I'm very proud of the race that we're running. I'm proud of the people that we've met, and I'm proud of the team that we've put together. And I want you to be a part of it. Craig Guyton, who many of y'all know, Wave Force Craig, he is on board with the campaign, helps us organize folks in Bartow County, spread the word. We've had some great events up here. We've got some great support up here. But we've got some great support all across this district. So if you would, please consider us May the 20th. If I'm not your first choice, I want to be your second choice. And most importantly, please remember us in your prayers. I think everybody in this room and everybody in this district wants what's best for this district. And I think that when we work together, we can accomplish a whole lot. Now I want to take a moment of personal privilege before I call for questions. And I talk a little bit about the overall political landscape. So I said I got involved in politics after most ministries and being involved in some other charitable organizations. And I get asked this so many times. Do you really think that the Democrats stand a chance this time? Do you really think that the Democrats can win something? There's just no possible way that some people can see that it's possible. I mean, after all, this is a firmly red Republican state. Let me tell you folks, they're here. I see it every single day. Whether it's town hall meetings for sitting congressmen, whether it's chamber events, Republican Party events. I've had a Democrat tracker on me. They're here because Georgia is really the only political game in town coming up this election cycle. And they're looking at victory. And they're looking at ways to not only hold the United States Senate, but to pick up seats in the United States House. They're looking for opportunities to elect their own governors. They fight dirty, and they're here to win. And I hope, my greatest hope, as a conservative, as a Republican, but most of all as a Georgian, that after May the 20th, we come together, we lock together behind our nominees, and we work hard to make sure that Georgia remains not only a Republican state, but a conservative Republican state. And that we hold them off not only this cycle, but the many more cycles to come. We make a point to reach out to people that don't typically vote with us. And we explain to them in the most articulate way that we can why a Republican vote is the right vote for not only them and their families, but also for the future of this country. And we do so in the most positive, professional, and articulate way possible. So, please join with me in supporting our nominees. Please join with me in working incredibly hard this cycle. May God bless you. Please remember us in your prayers. May God bless America, and Lord, may God bless Georgia. Thank you. I love questions. Yes, Deborah.
Well, last month I put up a whole bunch of articles, which are behind you there for people to read about, because Georgia does have some job growth to brag about, and
Yes.
You were involved in the economic development of many of our job programs.
Yes.
And I'd like to know what your ideas are for translating that on a national scale in the Congress.
Absolutely. I was asked to come in and lead the Governor's Office of Workforce Development. It was a struggling state agency that was designed for setting a long-term workforce development vision for the state. we did a couple of things that, well, we did a lot of things, but the big things that we did were we applied the conservative values and business principles onto state government. Now, you might say that that sounds like a no-brainer, and isn't that what everybody does? No. Government's a very different beast than business, and definitely very different than small business. What we did was we tied the federal workforce funds to unemployment, and we made it so that if you were drawing an unemployment check, you were first in line behind United States veterans, so you were really second in line to receive workforce development funds. What it did was it created a means to be able to pull people off of unemployment, give them skills training within their field or within an industry of study that's close to what it is that they did. You guys remember back in the 90s when they did welfare to work? Same type of program or same type of mentality that was applied. Where if we pull people off of unemployment, the state receives a twofold benefit from that. We get people that are back in the workforce and they're tax-paying citizens, but also we get people that are they're actually off of the programs that lead to long-term sustainability within entitlement programs. The second thing that we did was we dramatically reduced the way that whole workforce development operation for a state was being managed. And I can get into a lot of the finer points of it and can get pretty technical on it. But suffice it to say that we had an agency that had and a lot of programs that were very top-heavy. We changed that and made it so more of those funds were available as program dollars so that more of those people actually were able to benefit from them. We did a lot of work with the technical college system. I'm a big fan of technical education. If y'all are familiar at all with Go Build Georgia, that was the program that we started out of the Governor's Office of Workforce Development, making it cool again to get into the skilled trades. I mentioned my dad earlier. My father owned a short-haul trucking company growing up. And he was the father of 2 daughters. And I grew up working in the warehouse, grew up working with them. The only reason I'm not in the trucking business today is because I'm the world's worst driver, as he would like to tell you. But there's respect that comes from jobs within the skilled trades. And we desperately need them. Some of my biggest campaign supporters are those that are electricians and plumbers and own short-haul trucking companies. And they're desperate to find talent. They're desperate to find people to do those jobs. Here in Bartow County, I was very, very proud to be a part of the College and Career Academy and bringing the College and Career Academy to this community. It is a fantastic a fountain of talent to flow through the Bartow County school systems, through homeschools, through any secondary education source into a post-secondary option. When you consider the fact that, going back to what people ask me most about, they want a job, they want an economic future. Let's get creative about the ways we give it to them. So thank you for the question. Yes, hi.
Hi, I'm Dan Esperger out of Cherokee County.
Hi, Dan.
I guess I hear Republican candidates constantly saying we have to get our economy back on track.
Mm-hmm.
What are the measurable guidelines that you would use to make a statement that we are back on track? What are we going to measure to make that statement?
I think that it's lowered unemployment rate. I think that it is, I'd like to see a balanced budget amendment. I'd like to see us get our spending back in line with what it is that we're bringing in. I think that you've got to look at that 61% of our federal budget that's made up of entitlement programs and the administration of those programs. You consider that 30 to 35% of that federal budget is made up of people that administer the programs. We need a smaller federal government. I strongly believe in the Reagan principles of cutting at the federal level, leaving more control at the local level. I think our economy will come back on track when we see more and more people that feel confident in the economy. When the questions that I get have less to do about the economy and less to do about people's checkbooks and their finances, and they have more to do with freedom and the future of freedom across the world. But thank you, good question. Y'all don't let me off easy now. Okay. It is a pleasure to be with you all. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful day.